Welcome to this edition of the Native News Update on this Monday, February 15th. I'm your host for today's program, Paul Demain. Many of the stories read here can also be found at our website at IndianCountryNews.com. Here are the stories for the day from the Associated Press and other Native news sources. A man has been charged with illegally buying the gun that former casino worker used to kill his ex-boss and commit suicide last year in San Diego County, California. Court documents show that 30-year-old Delbert Holly Jr. was charged last week with 2 federal counts of making false statements while buying a gun. He pled not guilty. Prosecutors contend that Holly bought a 20-gauge shotgun under his own name from an El Cajun dealer on December 24th and gave it to Donnell Roberts, who supplied the cash. 5 days later, Roberts used the gun to kill the head of the Barona Gaming Commission, Raymundo Casillas Jr., in his office outside the casino and resort. Roberts then shot himself. The fire that killed a woman on the Tulalip Indian Reserve near Marysville, Washington last week was started when she lit a cigarette while breathing medical oxygen from a tank. Firefighters were unable to rescue 58-year-old Phyllis R. Ballum from the flames last Wednesday night. The Snohomish County Medical Examiner's Office says she passed away of smoke inhalation. The Eastern Band of Cherokee are protesting Duke Energy's construction of an electrical substation near the site of the tribe that they consider its birthplace. Duke Energy is clearing a site overlooking the ancestral home the Cherokee called Katua, which archaeologists say was occupied at least 9,000 years ago. The Swain County site includes a mound 170 feet wide and 5 feet high in a field along the Tuckasegee River and surrounded by mountains. Cherokee tradition says the mound once was the foundation of buildings that held the sacred flame the tribe tended year-round. Tests of the mound found successive layers of council houses built within it, said Brett Riggs, a University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill archaeologist who has researched the site. Tribal leaders say they weren't consulted and asked Duke Energy to temporarily stop work. Tribal members worry the station could ruin views from the mound, Eastern Band Principal Chief Mitchell Hicks said last week. 76 tribes across the country will share in $1 billion in economic stimulus money to help create jobs and revitalize Indian communities. The money will allow tribes from California to Florida to issue tax-exempt bonds for projects such as healthcare centers, water plants, and wind farms. Deputy Treasury Secretary Neil Woolen said the tribes will also be able to issue either traditional tax-exempt bonds or special Build America bonds for designated projects. In each case, he says the tribes will benefit from lower borrowing costs. The Bond Authority is the second round of economic stimulus money awarded to Indian tribes. Nearly 6 tribes received $1 billion in Bond Authority last fall as well. A petition is being circulated in Riverton, Wyoming against the city's proposed cooperative agreement with the Northern Arapaho tribe. One of the petition drive's organizers says the petition has attracted hundreds of signatures in just a few days. The petition urges the Riverton City Council not to sign the agreement, citing concerns about expansion of tribal authority into the affairs of the city and its residents. A public meeting on the agreement last week drew heavy opposition. The proposed agreement states that the tribe and city will enter into mediations regarding future conflicts before heading to court, and it includes plans to work together on issues of common interest such as land use planning. The president of the South Dakota Community Foundation says donations are pouring into a relief fund for residents of the Cheyenne River Reservation there. An ice storm and blizzard in late January paralyzed the reservation, knocking out power and water to thousands of people. Foundation President Bob Sutton says there was only about $8,000 left in the relief fund during the second week of February, but he says thousands of donations have been pouring in from around the country after the reservation's plight, and the relief fund were featured on cable TV news talk shows. The fund has now surpassed $200,000. The Bush Foundation and the Northwest Area Foundation are offering some matching money that Sutton says could push the relief fund to over $300,000. You can find that fund at sdcommunityfoundation.org. Record coho returns have Yakama Nation biologists ready for the next step in recovery, getting the fish into the uppermost reaches of central Washington's biggest watersheds. It's been nearly a century since the last coho swam beyond the main flows of the Yakama, the Wenatchee, and the Methil rivers and into creeks. Sacred to the Yakama and once part of a major industry, the silver-sided fish with dark blue backs have not had an easy go during the last century. Starting about 100 years ago, irrigation, heavy fishing, and ruined habitat annihilated coho runs on those smaller creeks and streams. By 1985, the fish were extinct in the Yakama River as well. But an effort headed by the Yakama Nation to resurrect coho runs is now proving successful. This fall alone saw roughly 22,000 coho pass Rock Island Dam near Wenatchee, a huge leap from the mere 12 that passed that same area in 1999. And in the Yakama River Basin, more than 10,000 returned this fall. Historic returns in the Yakama River range from 44,000 to 120,000 fish each year. And that is the latest roundup of news from Indian Country on this edition of the Native News Update. We want to thank you all for joining with us. Stop by again soon. Miigwech.